Hi, I'm Gina.
Oh, hi, I'm Julia.
This is Scenes from the Couch, episode 4? 5?
He's 5.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. It's 5. We watched Trainspotting. We just finished it.
We've seen Witness for the Prosecution, Mean Streets, The Anderson Tapes, Once Upon a Time in America, and now Trainspotting.
Come here, Diva. Oh, here she is. This cat hates being picked up so much. She hates it so much. Oh, I want to love on you. I want to love. Okay. All right. Well,
Do you want to go first?
I mean, I can or you can. It doesn't matter. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I would give it a 3.5 stars. It was light and fluffy. I mean, it was, it was Trainspotting. So if you've seen it, it's, violent and harsh and, a baby dies and he goes inside a filthy toilet and starts swimming around underneath. And it was kind of weird, sort of, people recovering from heroin addiction. And so there's a lot of hallucinations, and there's always this sort of club edgy music, like angry youth, Ireland, Scotland, I don't know which it is, type of music that's constantly running in the background. So it's not just dialogue.
It was a pretty good soundtrack.
Yeah, it had a good soundtrack. It was very like club music playing the entire time.
This was in 1996, so some of the club music took me back to my own club days, which I really liked. I mean, it wasn't all that same kind of music, but some of it was, so I enjoyed that. I thought there was a lot of good music. I didn't like all of it, but I enjoyed, whatever was playing. I thought, this is good. One thing I didn't like about it is I couldn't understand most of what they were saying.
Without subtitles, that was...
I mean, I can watch a foreign movie with subtitles and I'm not distracted by what they're saying because I can't understand a word of it, but kind of understanding what these people were jabbering on about made it really hard to read the subtitles. So it was sort of hard, like, what am I paying attention to? What they're saying or what I'm reading? And then it became almost impossible to follow what was going on. And I don't really like that accent, because especially because it was from these sort of lower class street kids, so it's especially jarring and unpleasant. And
they were unlikable.
They were unlikable, and then what I realized during this is that this was just sort of a Scottish version of Mean Streets. There's the Italian New York version of these punks scraping by on the streets, and now there's the Scottish version of these punks scraping by on the streets.
Yeah, you're right.
They're just constantly making bad choices and, never really getting it right. Just when you think they've got it right, then they fall back into their bad ways. And it's, it's kind of a downer movie in that regard. And, I'm glad I watched it because it's a classic.
I've seen it before. So this was not the first time, but I remember just sort of liking it fairly well, but not like, oh, that was such a great movie, or I'd put it on any list. And I still feel exactly the same way about it that I did when I watched it back when it came out. And I think I went to the theater even to see it. And I don't have... it's fun. It's a fine movie. I'm giving it 3.5 stars, which is that might be the highest rated that I've given a movie so far. I'm not sure.
I would give it 2 stars, and
that's pretty low.
I watch a lot of movies, and I watch a lot of movies that are I don't watch specifically because I think I'm going to like them, but because I want to become familiar with everything that is part of the zeitgeist of what people are talking about. I've heard about this movie for so long, and you just, I read books sometimes for the same reason, at least one of a series or part of a TV series that I don't necessarily like, but I want to know what in the world people are talking about.
Of course.
So I can just keep my finger on the pulse. And for me, this movie, now that I've seen it, is nothing but that. It's only because I want to keep my finger on the pulse. I didn't really enjoy it. I'm glad I know what people are talking about now if I hear it, referenced. But I really didn't enjoy it. It's not the kind of movie I like. I don't like just kind of dismal movies like that. And
hopeless. Dismal and hopeless,
dismal
basically.
And hopeless. People who just can't seem to get out of their own way. But I did have one moment where in the scene that she mentioned where the guy lost his heroin suppositories because he was going to be trying to, kick the habit. So he needed something to help him. And he ended up digging his hand into the toilet when he realized he'd lost him in the toilet. And I'm like, this is just like in Slumdog Millionaire, where they have to go fishing down into the shitter for some tickets that they had lost somehow in the toilet. And that's when it was like, this is the same director. He just has a
Slumdog
thing
Millionaire
for digging in to the shit. He loves those scenes. I mean, I don't know what other movies he made, but I wouldn't be surprised if there might have been some
more
other movies
scenes
with that
of
scene.
hands going into filthy toilets.
So,
I mean, this is the filthiest bathroom I've ever, in the movie, this is the filthiest bathroom I've ever seen. The diarrhea is basically everywhere. I mean, it's just like a diarrhea bathroom. It was so disgusting. This movie reminded me of Fight Club in that way too. Like, Fight Club is a movie that is hard to watch and not good, like not desirable characters, and it's hard. It's just, you don't really understand half of what they're talking about. And Fight Club is something that I watched and I was like, ugh, well, at least I know, what it's about, because people talk about it. Men in particular talk about Fight Club. Whereas women talk about Nora Ephron films, men talk a lot about Fight Club and Trainspotting too. So it appeals to probably, hip, younger men. Possibly that's who these movies appeal to, but they don't really, this just didn't do much for me. But I feel like it deserves 3.5 stars, but you don't think so, and I don't really care, and I don't even need to say another word about this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there's many movies I've seen that I didn't really like, but I saw them because they're part of the repertoire of well, if you want to be well watched as opposed to well read, I guess, it's something you have to see. If somebody isn't going to be watching like nearly every movie that should be watched to be, well watched, then I wouldn't recommend this as just a go-to movie for any reason at all.
No.
Only because it's, caught people's imagination for some reason, and so you just want to know what people are talking about.
Yeah.
I was going to comment though that maybe 10 or 15 years ago when I've been watching a lot of movies my whole life, but at some point about 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, it started to dawn on me that there was more than just the movies and the actors that kind of made a movie, that the directors had some play in it. And I began to slowly recognize that certain directors were involved in a bunch of movies that I might actually like, and that there was something that they contributed more than just money or who knows what. And so, seeing that this guy chose that same, toilet scene in 2 movies just kind of underscores that the directors they're completely behind the scenes. You don't see them except for their name in the credits, but they have a lot to do with what the movie, how it comes across, if it's a good movie or not, what kind of movie it is, what type of topics kind of come back up as a theme over and over. They're like the hidden actor, the hidden star.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're going to watch a lot of movies and sort of analyze them and understand them, it's worth paying attention to those other credits besides just the actors. And I mean, that's kind of obvious, I think, for most people who are familiar with most movies, but it's more of something I learned later. And I still kind of try to make a point of connecting those dots, with the directors. That's all I have to say.
That's good.
That's everything.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess if you, of course, have seen the movie and you have comments or you have an insight that we didn't discuss that you think is important to talk about with this movie, then comment below. And is there a movie similar that did a better job than Trainspotting? I don't know. All right. That's it.
Actually, I do want to just bring up that the whole time I was watching this, everybody had warned me when I had, I gave anybody who was interested in what we were going to watch the whole rundown. And every time I got to Trainspotting, everybody would just sort of gasp, oh my goodness, that's going to be so depressing. It's so dark and everything like that. And so I was really, ready for something extremely
March
depressing.
of the Penguins is way more depressing than Trainspotting.
In this particular way, though. It's about heroin addiction. And I had just watched, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, what was it? Oh, Panic in Needle Park, which I had been wanting to watch for about 5 years, but it wasn't available, so I had to buy, maybe even 10 or 15 years. It was never available for streaming, so I had to buy the DVD, and then I didn't ever want to watch it on DVD because I don't have a DVD player on my big TV, so I would have had to watch it on my laptop. And for 15 years, I was like, one of these days I have to watch, and of course I never wanted to watch it that way, and then finally it came out on streaming, so that was about 2 weeks ago I watched it, and that's a movie about heroin addiction set in New York City. So I had wanted to see, I think 1970s or 80s New York City, whenever it was set. And so I did watch it. It was fresh in my mind. And this was sort of like the Scottish version of Panic in Needle Park with Al Pacino and some other
I've never heard of that movie.
It's because it wasn't available until, recently. So you would have never seen it.
So it's a new movie, or it just became available?
It's an old movie that just was never available, and slowly but surely they're making them available over time. And so basically I already had the whole heroin addiction kind of, depressing movies. I'd already seen all these kind of movies. This one actually was just a rehash of what I'd already seen, so it wasn't any kind of major shocker or downer like everybody was warning me it would be.
This did not depress me one bit. This Trainspotting.
Yeah, I mean, I've already read a lot of scenes of people trying to kick heroin habits in books, I can't even remember the names now. There's Shantaram or Shantaram, however you say that. It's a book about this.
But they never made a
based
movie
on a
out
true
of
story. No, but I read a book. So he talks about kicking a heroin habit in great detail. And this is based on his true life story. So I know how horrible it can be. I've read all of the gritty details of it. So this movie wasn't anything new or anything that I hadn't seen or, recently or many times before. And so, I don't know. I mean, the warnings, they were a little extreme compared to the actual experience of it.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. That it?
Bye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.